YouTube family, Mr. Blackman with 305. Guys, welcome to the live. Today, we're going to watch President Trump talking about bringing back the coal mine industry. You know, that's one of his pet peeves he's been talking about from way before he got elected. Um, honestly, guys, this is one of the first presidents that we've seen ran his campaign on all the different agendas that he ran on. And this man is trying to fulfill them all. Now, this is like, first of all, sorry, forgive me, guys. Thank you guys for joining the live. If this is your first time checking out my channel, I appreciate you. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much. I appreciate you. If you subscribe, thank you. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button for more content like this. And I also want to give the Lord Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, all the praise in the world. And I thank him for President Trump. I thank him for not letting Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party stay in power, because we would have seen pretty much the end of our country. And without further ado, like I was saying before, I think President Trump is one of the first president that all the things that he decided to run on, he's actually fulfilling. And whether you like whatever it is that he's doing right now, you have to agree that the man is a man of his word. Literally, all the things that he campaigned on, all the things that he said, I'm going to do, he's doing it. And even the ones that you think like, okay, well, he hasn't done that. Trust me. He's in. Yeah, man, I'm trying to up my views, man. I am. I'm trying to. But even the things that he's saying that he's going to do that you haven't seen it yet, believe me, fam, it's in the works. Things are moving in the background to get those things working. And for those of you who just joined me, I pretty much just said that President Trump is one of the first president that, all the things that he says he's going to do, he's doing at a rapid rate and being totally transparent. So without further ado, guys, let's hear the president talk about our energy efficiency, being more, self-reliant as it pertains to energy. Hey, what's up, B? Appreciate you joining. Thank you, man. All right, let's hear the president speak. Thank you, man. I appreciate you liking, man. How's everybody doing today? Thank you guys for joining the live, man. Appreciate you. That's a man's man for you.
Strong, very strong, and they're great. These are great people. And thank you very much. This is a very important day to me because we're bringing back an industry that was abandoned, despite the fact that it was just about the best, certainly the best in terms of power, real power. And I'm very honored to be doing this.
Sorry, guys.
Went to beautiful clean coal, and they've stayed there for many years, like China. China's opening 2 plants every week. Germany went green, very green. They went so green they almost went out of business. Germany was finished. They went to wind. The wind wasn't blowing too much. And they went to all sorts of other things. The Green New Scam hit Germany too. And guess what? Now they're back to coal. They're opening up coal plants all over Germany. We're the ones that aren't doing it. I call it beautiful clean coal. I told my people never use the word coal unless you put beautiful clean before it. Right, Doc? So we call it beautiful clean coal. Beautiful clean coal. So today, thank you. Today we're taking historic action to help American workers, miners, families, and consumers. We're ending Joe Biden's war on beautiful clean coal once and for all. And it wasn't just Biden, it was Obama and there were others, but we're doing the exact opposite. And all those plants that have been closed are going to be opened. If they're modern enough, or they'll be ripped down and brand new ones will be built. And we're going to put the miners back to work. And I said I was going to do this, and I said it loud and clear. And it's time to do it. Now we need it. And I look at these people behind me. I don't want to have any arm wrestling contests with any of them, but they've had a little more practice with the lifting things, I will say. But they are great people, and I know them indirectly for a long. That includes you guys for a long time, and they're great people and with great families and come from areas of the country that we love and we really respect. And I want to thank Secretary Doug Burgum for doing such an incredible job. From the day I met him, I knew I wanted to have him in my cabinet. He took a shot at running, and he was so good and so solid that he made no news, and that was good. But I saw him, and I saw his beautiful wife, Catherine, and I said that they're going to be a team. They're a great team, and they're going to be working for this country someday. And one of the first people I called after I won. So thank you very much. And along with the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, and I was going to make Doug actually the Energy Secretary. And he said, sir, you have one person who's much better than me at this, Chris Wright. I said, who the hell is Chris Wright? I have no idea who he is. And then I learned that he's the most respected person in the energy business by far, far and away. For Doug to say that Doug's got a big ego was very tough for him to say that. Catherine was there, right? Catherine, you said, wow, I've never heard that before. But Chris, you guys are fantastic. Stand up, all three of you, please stand up. That's a great team. It's no better team than that. I mean, they're going to produce energy the likes of which nobody's seen before. You know, we need to do the AI, all of this new technology that's coming online. We need more than double the energy, the electricity that we currently have. You take all of the electricity in the country right now for houses, for buildings, for everything. We need to more than double it to be number one. We're now way ahead of everybody at AI. China's in second place, but way behind. And they're going to be producing a lot of energy and a lot of electricity for this. And so are we, and we're going to get approvals very fast. And I would say the man that's almost comparable to you in terms of the importance to this, maybe he's even more comparable, I hate to tell you, a guy named Lee Zeldin, who's a friend of mine for a long time. He was a great... Lee was a great lawyer, and he ran for office, and he won immediately. I gave him a very important endorsement. He won for Congress in an area that was unwinnable. He couldn't have, they were all saying, why is he wasting his time? That's Democrat territory. And I liked Lee and knew Lee, and he ended up winning a seat in a massive upset. Nobody knew what happened, actually, and then he was there for a long time. How many years were you there? 8 years. Was very popular. Then he almost won the governorship of New York, which is lost by a few points, which was an amazing run. And I said, we got to get you in with us in some form, and we did. Then he's head of the environmental agency, EPA, and doing a great job. And I said, if we have a nuclear power plant, Lee, can you get it approved in less than a month? He said, I'll do it faster. And by the way, he'll do a fast job, but he's going to do also a great job. It's going to be an important job. We don't even smile about it, but you know, I've been involved in the approval process for a long time, having been in real estate. And you go years and years and years for absolutely nothing. And even in those days, I used to say, you know, this whole thing could have been approved in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it would have been just as good. But they take you down the path, and you spend years waiting, and then sometimes you get rejected. I wasn't rejected too much. I was the king of zoning. I did well, but it was such nonsense. It was so terrible. The process was so terrible. But this is the big leagues now, and he's the head person in the whole country, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you doing it. And already they're respecting you very greatly. So thank you very much, Lee. Great job. So we have a lot of senators and congressmen and women, and I'm going to just introduce the ones that I see here, because it's always a problem when I do this, because I leave one or two out, and that's the end. I never get their vote again. I never get their vote. It takes years to recover, but we'll give it a shot, because Senator John Barrasso, who's my friend and a great gentleman. Thank you very much, John, for being here. Thank you, John. Cynthia Lummis, fantastic woman who believes like I do. She believes like I do in these people, right? She believes in them maybe even more than I do. That's pretty good from day one. Thank you, Cynthia. You're doing a fantastic job. Kevin Kramer, my friend. Where is Kevin? Because Kevin, I didn't think he was here, because he had a problem, and I just will pay my respects. He wanted to be here so badly, but he had a difficult problem that he's working through, and we all love Kevin. John Hovind. John, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Steve Daines. Thank you, Steve. And Steve is a picker of great candidates, like he picked a guy named Tim Sheehy, who's here. Where's Tim? Where is Tim? Thank you, Tim. And Tim Sheehy has turned out to be a wonderful senator, and that was your pick. And we went with it, and you were right. And we have a great one in Tim, so thank you, Tim, and thank you, Steve. Shelley Moore Capito. Shelley, thank you very much. West Virginia, from West Virginia, she has to like, you have no choice. Even if you didn't like it, you have to like all, right? But they were doing a number on you. They were doing a number on you with the coal stuff, and you have not only coal, but you have among the best coal anywhere in the world. So thank you very much. A friend of mine for a long time, I'm the one that got him to change his religion in a sense. He changed the party. He went from a Democrat. I said, Jimmy, you're not a Democrat. But he changed to Republican. He's one of the most popular Republicans and one of the most popular political leaders in the country. Jim Justice. I call him Big Jim. Big Jim Justice. But you look good, Jim. And he was in the business, and so am I doing the right thing? You would know better than anybody in this room. Am I doing the right thing, Jim? I think so, right? Thank you very much, Jim. Cindy Hyde Smith. Cindy, thank you, hon. Very good. Good job. People are going to be happy. And all friends of mine. Mike Lee. Mike, thank you very much. We have a lot of people from Congress, congressmen and women, representatives. Morgan Griffith. Morgan, thank you. Thank you very much. Bruce Westerman. Bruce, thank you, Bruce. Bob Latta. Bob Latta. Thank you, Bob. Good job. Troy Balderson. Troy, haven't seen you in a long time. Since that early race, I endorsed him before anyone knew who he was. And he ended up winning. That was another surprise, right? And that was a long time ago. Yep, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much, Troy. Carol Miller. Carol, thank you. Carol, West Virginia. Riley Moore. Riley. Hi, Riley. Thanks. Mike Bost. Mike, thank you very much. Troy Downing. Troy, thank you. Oh, he has something. What is it, coal? Is there coal in that bag? I like it. I'll take it right now. Thank you very much. Hal Rogers. Hal, thank you. Thank you, Hal. Andy Barr. Thank you, Andy. Good luck with everything. I hear good things. Troy Downing. Troy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Troy. Hal Rogers. Oops. Harriet Hageman. Harriet. How are you, Harriet? We just left her. This is one of the finest attorneys you will ever see. I have seen her in action, and she is brutal. I never want her against me, that I can tell you. Dan Muser. Dan? Thank you, Dan. Thanks, Dan. Good job you're doing. Wesley Hunt, my friend, too. Wesley, great. I love your commercial. Pete Stauber. Pete, thank you, Pete. Great hockey player he was, right? Great hockey player. And a great gentleman just broke the record of Wayne Gretzky. The great one is Wayne Gretzky, but we have another great one too, huh? Just broke the record, it was great. Governor Greg Gianforte. Greg, nice to you. Good. Thank you very much, Greg. Bill Lee. Bill, thank you very much. Patrick Morrissey, West Virginia, just got elected. Mark Gordon. Mark, thank you. Thank you very much. And we have a lot of others, and I'm in trouble because I don't know. I got 5 or 6 others that I see quickly, but I'm just not going to do it. Don't hold it against me, because we have to get back to the most important people in the room, these people. You know that, right? So the energy workers and the coal miners in the area that I'm standing on, and it's a lot of weight on this platform, so I don't know what's going to happen. I hope it's structurally designed for you guys. I don't know. But we have just really well-deserving, great American patriots, and it's such an honor to be here and making such a big move, such a bold move in energy. Because, you know, for years, people would just bemoan this industry and decimate the industry for absolutely no reason, because with modern technology and all of the other things that we do, it's one of the great forms of energy. That's why other countries, leading countries, are using it, some exclusively. For 4 long years, Joe Biden and congressional Democrats tried to abolish the American coal industry. They did everything in their power while he was awake, which wasn't much, shutting down dozens of coal plants, banning coal leases on federal lands, and putting thousands and thousands of coal miners out of work, destroying their lives, actually, destroying their lives. I'll never forget when I went to West Virginia, which I won by 48 points, I think, right? Big Jim, I won by 48 points. But in the first campaign where Hillary Clinton was about 4 states too early, and she was talking about how bad coal was and how they were going to teach coal miners how to make widgets and gadgets and technology, which they didn't want to do. They want to mine. One thing I learned about the coal miners, that's what they want to do. You could give them a penthouse on Fifth Avenue and a different kind of a job, and they'd be unhappy. They want to mine coal. That's what they love to do. And she was going to put them in a high-tech industry where you make little cell phones and things. I don't know. Do you think you'd be good at that? I don't know. I would be. You don't want to be. And she was brutal about 3 weeks before, but then she had a problem. She went to West Virginia looking for votes, and that was a bad situation. You remember that? And there was a coal miner around the table with his family, and he was in tears because of what they had done to him and his family. And I hope he's still around, but that man made quite an impression on the world and the public. And we ended up winning in a great election, but we ended up winning by a lot. The Democrats' Green New Scam killed jobs and sent prices soaring here in America, but meanwhile, China opened 2 coal plants every single week, and other countries likewise went very strongly back into coal. Some of them never got off. Those are the ones that didn't have the problems. The Biden energy policy was to put America last. We want to be last. We got to be last. Not a good policy. Under my administration, we're putting America first. It's very simple. America's always going to be first. On my first day in office, I terminated the Green New Scam. I declared the national energy emergency and withdrew from the unfair, one-sided, and extremely costly to the United States only Paris Climate Accord. You know, under the Paris Climate Accord, we had a terrible situation. We would have paid over $1 trillion. Think of it, over $1 trillion. And Russia was paying almost nothing. Russia had a 1992 standard. China was paying nothing. China didn't kick in until 2035. This was 5 years ago. So they didn't kick in for many years. India had no standard whatsoever. But we had the highest standard you could imagine. We had to start paying from day one. And we had to pay lots of money. We paid for everything. So I was not a big fan of the Paris Accord, and I let it be known, and I got out of it early. Then they went back into it, and now we get back out of it. And hopefully we can be there for a long time, okay? A long time, because it was a scam to take money away from the United States and actually hurt us very badly with coal and with other things. Now, under the executive order that I will sign in a few moments, we're slashing unnecessary regulations that targeted the beautiful clean coal. We will rapidly expedite leases for coal mining on federal lands, and these two gentlemen are going to do a real job of it. You've already started. And we'll streamline permitting. We will end the government bias against coal, and we're going to unlock the sweeping authorities of Defense Production Act, the Defense Production Act, to turbocharge coal mining in America. They made it impossible. You actually, I know a friend of mine has a plant. He said, you know, it's a shame. I'm ripping it down and I'm replacing it with another form of energy. I won't tell you because it's also very good, but it's not as powerful as this. You know, the plant I'm building, the new plant, is literally half as good. It's no less, you know, it's not probably even as good environmentally, but he said it produced half the power for more money, much more money. It'll never compete with that beautiful plant I have down the road, which was really a modernized coal plant. Well, he'll be happy to know that he can open that plant up very quickly, and it's going to produce a lot. But he was complaining. He said, this is so much better. He wasn't doing that as politicking me. He was doing that because that's what he felt. And he knew every form of energy. We talked about that. He knew every form of energy. But our government is going to do something that's very different, and I don't think even you two know about this. This was my idea from about 15 minutes before I got up here. We're going to guarantee that we have a strong business for many years to come, that your coal companies and your miners don't get all excited about their jobs, and then should a radical left liberal become president, they end the business right away, and somebody's built a plant and spent hundreds of millions of dollars in building a plant, and the plant is going to be closed because a Democrat got in or a liberal got in. They're opposed to coal, and Republicans are very much for it. Clean coal. And we're going to give a guarantee that the business will not be terminated by the ups and downs of the world of politics. So should somebody come in to this very important office and say, oh, well, you spent hundreds of millions of dollars and you guys have given up your life because you want to be in coal, and then all of a sudden you don't have a life anymore because it's what you know the best, that's not going to happen. We're going to give a guarantee that it's not going to happen, so that if somebody comes in, they cannot change it at a whim. They cannot just they're going to have to go through hell to close you up. All right, so that's pretty good. We're going to give that in the form of a guarantee that we're writing on right now structurally and from a legal standpoint. So your investments are going to also be protected. And you're going to have no reason to be concerned about your future, your life, or your investment if you're a miner, as this great governor was a miner. Actually, he was one of the larger coal miners. He could fit up here very easily, you know, Big Jim. But he was a great success. But they were very, very tough on him, and he did a beautiful job with a beautiful product. Already under our leadership, the Department of Interior has approved the expansion of the Spring Creek mine in Montana, supporting 280 coal mining jobs and unlocking over 40 million tons of coal. And there's more to come. Spring Creek, big one. And there's more to come in the states of Wyoming, Alabama, Utah, North Dakota, and many others. West Virginia, I can't believe they didn't put West Virginia down. It's lucky I mentioned that, right? Can you imagine if I didn't mention West Virginia? I would have been in big trouble. They didn't mark it down here. Good to have a president like that can pick that up, right? You think Joe Biden would have picked that up? I don't think so. Gee, they didn't mention West Virginia. I don't think so. I don't think he'd be standing up here either. The value of untapped coal in our country is 100 times greater than the value of all the gold at Fort Knox. And we're going to unleash it and make America rich and powerful again. Under this order, I'm also directing Secretary Wright to use billions of dollars in federal funding to invest in the next generation of coal technology, which is an amazing technology in terms of getting the full potential of coal and also doing it a very clean, environmental way. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy there is on Earth today. It's a big statement. You never hear those statements, you know. You've never heard that before from a politician, have you? Well, maybe from that politician, but not from not too many. But that's the way it is. I say it again. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy. It's cheap, incredibly efficient, high density, and it's almost indestructible. You could drop a bomb on it, and it's going to be there for you to use the next day, which you can't say with any other form of energy. You're virtually indestructible. Most importantly, we have more of it here in America than anywhere else on Earth. We have more coal than any other country. You go to Australia, they have fantastic amounts of coal. You know who they sell it to? China. They sell it to China. They're nearby. They sell a lot of it to China. But we have more than anywhere else on Earth. We also have more liquid gold than anywhere on Earth. So we're really an energy behemoth, but we're unleashing that also. That's going to be another part. But I didn't even want to mention that. It's not down here because I didn't want to mention today is about clean, beautiful coal. So I'm going to give this to you. This big guy. Should I give it to him? You take that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
For example, we believe it's possible to extract enormous amounts of critical minerals and rare earths, which you know we need for technology and high technology in the process of coal mining, making in America the mineral superpower of the world, actually. In addition, I'm instructing the Department of Justice to identify and fight every single unconstitutional state or local regulation that's putting our coal miners out of business. And we are withdrawing all of those objections from our government today. It's all being withdrawn. So all of you people that have been fighting for your lives, we are withdrawing all of that today. We have excellent lawyers, excellent. Have you noticed that lots of law firms have been signing up with Trump? $100 million, another $100 million for damages that they've done. But they give you $100 million and then they announce that, but we have done nothing wrong. And I agree, they've done nothing wrong. Well, what the hell? They give me a lot of money considering they've done nothing wrong. And we'll use some of those people, some of those great firms. They are great firms too. They just had a bad moment. But we're going to use some of those firms to work with you on your leasing and your other things. And they'll do a great job. I think they're going to do a fantastic job. And for those of you that want to know the tariffs, you've been hearing about tariffs, we're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here. I mean, my only problem is I'm not sure I have enough. We're going to have to use those great law firms, I think, to help us with that. But we're going to probably do that, actually. We're going to use them, and we're getting them for the right price because we need a lot of talent. We have a lot of countries coming in that want to make deals. If I told them about making those deals 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, they'd be laughing at us. Now they're all signing up. Mike, you know that. So it's going to be a great thing, but we're think of that, $2 billion a day, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money even in the coal business, isn't it, huh? It's a lot of money. And America's going to be very rich again very soon. You're going to see that happening. You see it all along. And it's, so that whole situation that, you know, it was somewhat explosive, but if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be talking the way we're talking right now. It's been amazing what's happened. Sometimes you have to mix it up a little bit, but we've had great consideration. We've had talks with many countries, over 70. They all want to come in. Our problem is, can't see that many that fast. But we don't have to, because as you know, the tariffs are on and the money is pouring in at a level that we've never seen before. And it's going to be great for us. It's going to be great for other countries. We've been ripped off and abused by countries for many years with the tariff situation. They've used tariffs against us, and we didn't use tariffs against them or in any way. I mean, we just didn't use them with any monumental proportion. And so we are doing it now. We have tariffs on cars. We have tariffs on lumber, tariffs on steel and aluminum. Steel plants are going up because of it all over the country, with 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. And I think the steel workers like me even more than the coal miners like me. I'm pretty sure that that's true. We have, instead of having no steel business, I put them on originally my first term. We wouldn't have had one steel mill in the United States if I didn't do that. And now we upped it, and we not only are we taking in a lot of money, but we're protecting our workers, our steel workers. We're protecting our steel industry. And one thing you know, that steel and things like steel you need, because you need it from a defense standpoint. You need steel for your tanks and your planes and your everything. And certain industries you can get away with not having, but others you need, and steel is one you need. So I want to let you know that's in full force and effect. And literally as we speak, I spoke to executives in the steel industry over the last few days, and they're all coming in to build plants in the United States of America, because if you build them in the United States, you have no tariffs to pay. There are no tariffs to pay, zero. If you build them outside using outside labor and hurting our businesses, and you send your product in, you have to pay a price for that, and they will be having tariffs, as you know. It's an amazing thing. This has been something used against us for many years by other countries, and China in particular, but others, not just China, others, and taken advantage of us, ripped us off, and left us for dead, frankly. And I believe if I didn't become your president, I believe that this country would have had problems like they've never had before, because it was serious damage in so many other ways. Not only the border, where people came rushing into our country from prisons and jails and mental institutions, murderers, drug dealers, and some vicious criminals. 11,088 murderers came into our country. We have to get them out. We're getting them out. 11,088. Of that number, half committed murder on more than two people. And this is what they allowed into our country with their open border policy of lunacy. And we're taking care of that, just like we're taking care of you today. We're taking care of that. And I want to thank Christy Noem and Tom Homan for doing an unbelievable job. The whole thing is, the job they're doing is incredible. It's really an unforced error. It should have never happened, that we have to be spending such time and resources, Mr. Senator, on getting people out of our country that shouldn't be here. I mean, literally from mental institutions, insane asylums were opened up and emptied into our country. Prisons from all over the world, not just South America, prisons from, think of this, from Africa, the Congo, a lot of people from the Congo, prisons in the Congo, prisons from Asia, from all over, were opened up. And I knew that when I heard it was an open border policy. I said, if you do that, every country is going to be dumping people that they don't want into our country, and that's what's happened. But we're cleaning it out, and the courts, we had a good decision, as you know, from the Supreme Court allowing us to do that. We have judges that didn't want us to do it. We have judges that wanted the very evil gang members from Trendy, Iroquois, and MS-13, they didn't want them taken out of the country and put in very powerful prisons. When you look, you've all seen those clips, they're pretty amazing clips. But I want to thank El Salvador, they've done an incredible job. But we've been fortunately winning those cases, but we have judges that are out of control that say, oh, bring them back, bring them back. We don't want them back. We don't want them back. Can you imagine? You spend all of that time, energy, and money on getting them out, and then you have a judge that sits there, a local judge who sits there, federal judges, sits there and says, no, bring them back. One was brought back, well, they want to bring him back because he wasn't a member of Tren de Aragua. He was a member of MS-13, which is just as bad. So they misidentified him, but it sounds to me like he was a member of MS-13, so they want him brought back because he wasn't treated properly. It's, we got to be smart. Our country's got to get a lot smarter than it is, but we have to give the people that are empowered to do this kind of work, and it's not pleasant work. We have to give them the option of making our country great again, and that's what they're doing, and I have great respect for those people. And they're doing it out of love. They could get a much easier job. They're doing it out of love for our country. It's so important, just like I'm doing this with coal today for love for our country. Earlier this afternoon, I signed another executive order to strengthen our electric grid by ensuring that coal-fired power plants are always available to meet surging demand for electricity. Unlike wind and solar, coal plants can run 24 hours a day in rain, sleet, or snow, and you will not be subject to the incredible blackout situation that's taking place in California, where they have blackouts all the time. It's an amazing thing with California. They have blackouts and brownouts at levels that nobody's ever seen before, and all they want to do is keep going the way they're going, and they're doing a very poor job. As you probably heard, I released billions of gallons of water going in from upstate California, from the most northern parts of California. Probably comes in from Canada to a certain extent. Thank you very much, Canada, we appreciate it. And I released it. It was being sent out to the Pacific Ocean. I've been working on Gavin and some of the politicians for years, and they didn't want to do that because they were protecting a smelt, a fish that was perhaps in trouble, but it's not unique to that area. And because of that, you had numbers, you had fires. Nobody's ever seen anything like what happened. Think of what it would have been like if you had fire hydrants that had water in them, if you had sprinkler systems in houses. A lot of these luxury houses where they had beautiful sprinkler systems, there was no water. They had no water to put out the fires. Water is very good for putting out fires, you know, they just didn't learn it. But we now have millions of gallons, billions actually, they say, of gallons of water pouring into California from the Pacific Northwest, I guess they would say, mostly Pacific Northwest, but other parts of the northern sections of California and beyond. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I saw a picture of it this morning. The water's just flowing down there. I said, why didn't they do this? I told them to do it. My first term, I said, do it. And I don't know, I think the second term is just more powerful. They do it. When I say do it, they do it, right? And we actually had to do some pretty strong things to get them to open it up. They had, think of this, they had all that water pouring out right into the Pacific. They had a big valve, like a giant valve as big as this room, and they turned the valve. Takes one day to turn it, and they face it toward the Pacific Ocean, and the water, all that was coming down, all millions and millions of gallons coming down, they put it into the Pacific Ocean, which for the Pacific Ocean is like a drop of water. But for California, it would have been unbelievable. So we did it. I'm very proud of the fact that we did it. We did that against a lot of heat and a lot of environmental nonsense. From now on, we'll ensure that our nation's critically needed coal plants, as an example, remain online and fully operational. They're always going to be operational. And again, we're going to have guarantees that government cannot close them down, close you down, and destroy your lives. To that end, I'm also instructing Secretary Wright to save the Chui coal plant in Arizona, a big plant, which has been slated for destruction. We're going to keep those coal miners on the job. Going to tell them to just remain calm, because we're going to have that plant opening and burning the clean coal, beautiful clean coal, in a very short period of time. You know all about that, right? It's a big one. As part of our historic deregulatory efforts this afternoon, I'm also granting immediate relief to 47 companies operating 66 coal plants, very big ones all over the country, recusing and making them available for coal production almost in the immediate future, but we're going to be crushing Biden-era environmental restrictions. These are restrictions that made it impossible to do anything having to do, frankly, with energy, even beyond coal. It's really beyond even coal. We have clean air, we have clean water, and now we have clean coal. And at the same time, we're gonna do other things and other forms of technology and also energy, like our country has never really seen before and never been known to do before, because of all sorts of restrictions having to do with the Green New Scam, which, by the way, was devised by somebody that never even studied. You know that they never even studied anything to do with the environment. It's a young congresswoman. She came up with the idea, and based on that, I guess we only have, well, actually, we should have all been gone, because they gave us only a few years left on Earth, right? Right, Greg? We were going to be gone. We're all going to be gone. The environment now, what they have to worry about is the nuclear heat. They don't have to worry about environmental heat. They have to worry about nuclear heat. And if we're smart, we're working on that right now with others having to do with Iran and some other countries. But that's the heat you're going to have to worry about. You don't have to worry about the air is getting warmer, the ocean will rise 1/4 of an inch within the next 500 to 600 years, giving you a little bit more waterfront property. They say this is going to, these guys can handle that. The nuclear we have a bigger problem with, right? So we're going to make sure that that's safe. We're going to make sure that that's safe. With us today are some of the amazing workers who will benefit from these policies, the policies that we're doing and so proud of doing, including Jeff Crow, a miner from West Virginia. Jeff, would you come up and say a few words? Jeff? Come on up,
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I want to first thank you for having me and my fellow miners here. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of today's events. I believe this past November that America clearly spoke about what we wanted for our country. It is reassuring for Americans to have a president in office who will truly put the United States of America above all else. With putting America first, you have spoken numerous times about energy independence. I believe most don't understand the importance of that. Coal is one of the major factors in energy independence and accounts for a large portion of America's energy. Coal is one of the most reliable and cheapest forms of electricity. For too long, coal has been a dirty word that most are afraid to speak about. Most of those that will speak negatively about coal do so from an uneducated standpoint. Many are unaware of the engineering and technology that are used in today's mining to create a clean, energy-efficient product. All of this is done while using the safest practices in the industry. Speaking for West Virginia, coal provides approximately 50,000 jobs for those that work in the mines and the businesses that support them. It also accounts for over 50% of West Virginia's export product. To name a few, we employ engineers, teachers, physical therapists, accountants, truck drivers, high school and college graduates. All of these occupations and graduates have turned to the coal industry to provide a better way of life for them and their families. Everyone in our industry works long hours and days to provide a reliable energy product, and too many times it goes unnoticed. I've personally worked in the industry for 23 years. I choose to do this daily to provide my wife and children with the life that they deserve. Prior administrations have done all they could to eliminate the coal industry. Sorry, one second, I'm getting there. In my opinion, they have done so with an unethical and uneducated approach. But we are still strong, we are still here, and we are still needed in order to make America great again. Having a president and an administration that understands the need and importance of coal is more than appreciated. It gives the industry a form of reassurance to know that we have a president in place that supports us. For my family, to the over 3,000 employees of ACNR, and for the coal companies, miners, and businesses throughout our great country that rely on the coal industry, we say thank you for your continued support. I personally thank you for what you do for our country and for our industry. It has been my pleasure to be here today to help you usher in the golden age of America. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Isn't that something wonderful to see that a president looked out for his own people instead of shipping money to a foreign
You
country?
did a good job. Let me have that speech. I want to have that. I had a couple of good lines in there when I came out. No, actually, what I want to do, I'm going to sign it for you because I think, he worked hard. Look at it, and look how good his eyes must be to read that.
I lost it once.
And hopefully you can sell it tonight for a lot of money.
And that's a good guy, bro.
That's great. Thank you
That
very much.
signature is gonna worth, that thing is gonna worth thousands of dollars later. Especially it's done on national TV and he has the pen. Oh man, that thing, he frames it with that pen. He can pass that down to his
Thank you very
kids
much.
and it's worth
Also
millions
with us is
later.
Tony Campbell of the East Kentucky Power Cooperative.
You best believe nobody's touching
Tony's
that pen.
quite a gentleman and very respected in the industry. Come on up, Tony. Thank you.
For real. He got the pen too.
Mr. President, on behalf of East Kentucky Power Cooperative, the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, and Electric Cooperative.
Guys, I just want to say it's so refreshing to see a president that looks out for his people. And whether you like Trump or not, you can't deny the fact that this man is doing for America. Compared to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, when she got that $1.5 million to run for election, she went and get the first person she gave it to was Oprah Winfrey and Meg Thee Stallion. She went on every woke TV show and gave them money, paid all these already rich people. And this man, look at all those faces in the crowd. Those are working men that probably lost their jobs and are trying to, and he probably got them to come back to actually work in the coal mine so we can have electricity. Man, come on, man. Whether you like this guy or not, you got to admit what he's doing is amazing.
Thank you for your leadership to restore American energy dominance. Electric co-ops keep the lights on for 42 million Americans across 56% of the land mass. We are owned by the communities and businesses we serve and provide electricity to growing communities, new data centers, and manufacturing plants. Mr. President, electric co-ops are powering America, and we are proud to partner with you and your administration to power America into the future. Our electric cooperatives in Kentucky understands the importance of reliable, affordable, and American-made energy, especially coal and natural gas. Coal fuels most of the electricity generated by our cooperative. America must keep coal plants open and running to ensure reliable electricity when we need it most. To meet growing demand over the next decade and ensure fuel security, America will need more always available electric generation power, such as coal. And we want to recognize the hardworking American men, women that support our mission. To all America's line workers, our coal miners, thank you for your dedicated service to our country.
Very important.
Affordable and reliable electricity is a cornerstone of our economy, especially American manufacturing. However, too many government leaders have pushed policies that have made our electric grid significantly less reliable and our energy too expensive. That begins to change now. Your actions today will prevent the premature closing of essential power plants and help us meet tomorrow's energy needs. And they will help us continue to deliver reliable, safe, and affordable electricity. Mr. President, thank you in particular for providing immediate, much-needed relief from the Biden EPA regulations that would force the shutdown of critical coal units. Finally, I want to say congratulations on the all-star energy team you've assembled. Electric co-ops have already been working with Secretaries Burgum, Wright, and Rollins, and Administrator Zeldin, and we are excited for all we can accomplish together. Mr. President, thank you again for your actions today and for your support for the electric cooperatives as we work to keep the lights on in America.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate it. Every day on.
And guys, we also have to identify the fact that this man, as the president, is working tirelessly every day, every night. He's in some state, he's in Congress, he's in the Capitol Hill, he's everywhere making a speech, and he's not just making a speech to promote himself. It's a speech about something that he's done, he's going to do, he's in the process of doing. You cannot deny this man. You can't.
The Trump administration, we will continue to lower costs for American families, create jobs for American workers, and very importantly, unlock unlimited amounts of affordable American energy, including, as I said, and I'll say for the last time, beautiful, clean coal. Our country is blessed.
That's going to be a slogan soon.
Our country is blessed with the most abundant natural resources on earth, as nobody has what we have. And we're going to use it, too. We're going to use it in a very responsible way. Together, we're going to tap that magnificent potential to give our people the glorious future that they deserve, better than they've ever had in the past. I mean, they had a good future, if you look 20 years ago, they thought they had a good future. It was ripped away from them, torn away from them with nonsense. And we're not going to let that happen. This is going to be a glorious future for them. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank you and you and you and that whole group and our senators, by the way, and our great congressmen and women for being here in such a large number, because you've been helping us make these decisions. These are big decisions, and this is a really big one. And this is one that's going to be, I think we're going to look back and with great pride at what we've done today, not just in putting people to work, but at really reawakening our country. And thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
My man's getting busy to get that pen going.
Hey,
come on up.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. President.
we have 4 items prepared for your signature this afternoon.
You know, that's his right-hand
The
man
first
right
of these
there.
Executive orders it may be one of the most significant executive orders of your administration thus far. This directs all departments and agencies of the federal government to end all discriminatory policies against the coal industry. This ends the leasing moratorium that prevents new coal projects on federal land, and it's going to accelerate all permitting and funding for new coal projects to allow the coal industry to flourish under your leadership, sir.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sir, there are currently dozens of coal plants in America that are in imminent danger of being forced to close based on unscientific and unrealistic policies enacted by the Biden administration. What we're going to do is essentially impose a moratorium on those policies taking effect to protect coal plants that are currently operating, to ensure that they're able to continue producing power and continue providing jobs to Americans in the coal industry.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I never understand what the Democratic Party wants to see
Sir, you
everybody
made
do
grid
well except
reliability and
Americans.
Security, a key focus of this administration. This
So
executive
definitely,
order
definitely
is
for a
going to
time like
promote
this.
Grid security and reliability by ensuring in part that our grid policies are focused on secure and effective energy production and energy transmission, as opposed to woke policies that discriminate against secure sources of power like coal and other fossil fuels.
Woke is over, guys. Let it be known. Woke is over. Woke is over. Woke is done and gone. And hopefully never coming
Lastly,
back.
Sir, one of the biggest problems we have in this space is Democrat states, radical leftist states, enacting policies and enacting an agenda that discriminates against coal, against secure sources of energy. Many of these policies are unconstitutional and illegal, and with this executive order, you're going to be instructing your Department of Justice to vigorously pursue and investigate these state policies that we believe are illegal or unconstitutional.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Great job. He went to Harvard when Harvard was good.
Just because my man is stumbling, don't mean that he's a fool. Alright. Let's see what my girl has Caroline Levitt has to say.
Sophisticated feel, refined look.
Thank you guys for tuning in and staying with me, man.
Good afternoon. How are we?
I love this young lady.
Good to see you all. I want to start today by addressing the U.S. Army soldiers who went missing while conducting a mission to repair and tow an immobilized tactical vehicle in Lithuania in the early hours of March 25th. Tragically, 3 soldiers were found deceased in Lithuania yesterday, and it pains me to confirm that today, the 4th soldier was also found deceased. The President, the Secretary of Defense, and the entire White House are praying for the victims' friends and family during this unimaginable time. This is another stark reminder of the selfless sacrifice of our brave military men and women who risk their lives around the world every day to keep us safe. God bless them. On another note, at our southern border, there was more massive news. Southwest border crossings in March fell to the lowest level in American history, down 94% from March of last year under President Biden, when 137,000 illegal aliens poured across our wide-open southern border. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, Border Patrol agents are now back to doing the jobs they signed up for, securing the border, rather than serving as travel agents for illegal aliens. The Los Angeles Times captured the Trump effect on the border with a recent article. Their headline read, "California-Mexico border, once overwhelmed, is now nearly empty." With so few migrants coming into the U.S., they wrote, "Shelters that once served migrants have completely closed." Deportations of illegal aliens who threaten the safety of the American people are also continuing at a rapid pace. Over the weekend, the United States military transferred a group of 17 violent criminals from the Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorist organizations to El Salvador. And an illegal alien who was released by the Biden administration into our country was just arrested in Georgia and charged with the horrific killing of Camelia Williams, a mother of 5 and grandmother. The suspect has now been indicted on charges of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, rape, aggravated sexual battery, and necrophilia, which for those who don't know, necrophilia
Having
is
sex with a
sexual
corpse.
obsession with a corpse. This suspect was ordered to be removed in July 2023, but the Biden administration allowed him to stay. This case represents the ruthless murderers, rapists, and pedophiles who Joe Biden and Democrats let into our country over the past 4 years through our southern border. They should have never been here in the first place. Keep this in mind the next time you see Democrats protesting future illegal alien removals from our country. President Trump is focused on fulfilling his greatest obligation, to keep the American people safe and to defend our country from violent invaders. Looking ahead to tomorrow, April 2nd, 2025, will go down as one of the most important days in modern American history. Our country has been one of the most open economies in the world, and we have the consumer base hands down, the best consumer base. But too many foreign countries have their markets closed to our exports. This is fundamentally unfair. The lack of reciprocity contributes to our large and persistent annual trade deficit that's gutted our industries and hollowed out key workforces. But those days of America, beginning tomorrow, being ripped off are over. American workers and businesses will be put first under President Trump, just as he promised on the campaign trail. The president's historic action tomorrow will improve American competitiveness in every area of industry, reduce our massive trade deficit, and ultimately protect our economic and national security. President Trump's economic vision is rooted in common sense. America will offer companies the lowest taxes, energy costs, regulations, if they make their products right here in the United States and hire American workers for the job. It's simple. If you make your product in America, you will pay no tariffs. We have already seen a number of the largest companies in the world respond to this economic approach. For example, Project Stargate, led by Japan-based SoftBank and US-based OpenAI, and Oracle, announced a $500 billion private investment in the United States-based artificial intelligence infrastructure. Apple announced a $500 billion investment in U.S. manufacturing and training. NVIDIA announced it will invest hundreds of billions of dollars over the next 4 years in U.S.-based manufacturing. And the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company TSMC announced a $100 billion investment in U.S.-based chips in manufacturing. These are just a few of the investment announcements that have already been made, and it is clear that President Trump's America First approach is already working. In our new media seat today is Mark Halperin, the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Two-Way, a new live video platform that builds communities around interactive conversations with leaders and content creators from every subject area. Mark and his colleagues welcome all voices into discussions that are spirited but respectful. They have over 37.5 million video views over 3.6 million watch time hours since the platform began just last year. This is new media in its truest sense, allowing the people to ask questions, make comments, and be an active part of engagement on the most important issues facing the country and our world. With that, Mark, please kick us off and welcome to the briefing room.
Appreciate it. I will ask you a question about tariffs and then one from one member of our community
Sure.
about education. It's perceived by some that companies or countries, if they change their policies either before tomorrow or after tomorrow, can have the president alter what he's planning for that country or that sector. Is that a possibility? And if so, what factors the president consider in making those changes?
Well, the ultimate change for these companies and these countries, Mark, will happen when they decide to do business in the United States of America. And as I just laid out, they will face no tariffs at all if these companies choose to invest here in the United States and to move their production and their manufacturing here to the United States as well. As for tomorrow, the president will be addressing the decades of unfair trade practices that have ripped our country off and American workers off. It has hollowed out our middle class. It has destroyed our heartland. The president is focused on reshifting our global economy to ensure that America is once again manufacturing itself.
Something today or later in the week or pledge for future activities in fact be good enough professional policy?
Again, the president has been looking at the very unfair trade practices of the past. Certainly, the president is always up to take a phone call, always up for a good negotiation, but he is very much focused on fixing the wrongs of the past and ensuring that American workers have fair trade.
Calls after tomorrow and says, hey, I'm ready to make a change. He'd be open to that.
The president is open.
One of our community members, Katie Reeves, is a school teacher in Wisconsin. She's taught K grade in public, independent, private, and private schools. Here's what she wanted me to ask you. She says, I see the elimination of the Department of Education as an excellent first step in the improvement of our school system. Do you see any further role the federal government can take beyond this, possibly in promoting the expansion of voucher programs or reducing the influence the teachers' unions hold over our schools?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Katie for her service to our country and our nation's children. Being a teacher is the most noble profession that we believe one can have. And the president said in his remarks when he signed the executive order to dismantle the Department of Education that he loves our teachers. And in part, this order is to empower our teachers to have greater decision making in the classroom. Nobody knows our nation's children and our students better than our teachers who are with them every single day. As for the federal government's role, to get to the heart of Katie's question, the president has made it clear to Lyndon McMahon that we need to find other places within our federal government for critical programs regarding education. Pell Grants, Title IX, lawsuits, etc., civil rights lawsuits, all of that are critical functions, special needs programs, nutrition programs, but there are other places throughout the federal bureaucracy where those things can happen and work. The Department of Education has been a very bloated bureaucracy. We spent trillions of dollars on this department, and for what? Our children are worse off as far as education goes today than they were when this department originated, and that's very concerning for the president. So,
She cited over those priorities for the president: school education choice, vouchers, and diminishing the role of teachers.
But the president is very supportive of both of those things, particularly when it comes to school choice. He has said that school choice is the civil rights issue of our time, and he wants every child, regardless of zip code, socioeconomic status, how much money their parents have, to be able to go to the school of their choosing that best suits their educational needs. And he is going to empower state and local leaders to make those decisions on behalf of our nation's children. Thanks for being here, Mark. Jeff.
Just changing subject for 1 second. The administration has expressed a complete confidence in how all the deportation flights to El Salvador were conducted. But now that the administration has conceded that there was an error of one Salvadoran national, will there be any reviews conducted? And has the president expressed any thoughts on the one error that was disclosed in court last night?
Well, first of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number three, this individual was a member, actually a leader, of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization Fact number 4 is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore, and it is within the President's executive authority and power to deport these heinous individuals from American communities. It is a promise he campaigned on. It is a promise he is keeping, and every single person in this room should be grateful for that, considering especially MS-13 is very prevalent and prominent here in the District of Columbia, in Maryland, and in Virginia, and the President, the Attorney General, everyone who has been involved in these operations is focused on eradicating these criminals and terrorists from our communities.
He was a convicted member of MS-13. What evidence is there to back that up?
There's a lot of evidence, and the Department of Homeland Security and ICE have that evidence, and I saw it this morning. Steve?
Has the president fully made up his mind on the level of terrorist imposed tomorrow? We keep hearing about a 20% flat rate.
The president said last night he has made a decision and a determination. I was with him in the Oval Office earlier, and he is going to announce that decision tomorrow. I don't want to get ahead of the president. This is obviously a very big day. He's with his trade and tariff team right now, perfecting it to make sure this is a perfect deal for the American people and the American worker, and you will all find out in about 24 hours from now.
You can't spell apartments without me.
Life is loud. I want a day to get away. I want to be pampered, poolside, with a view. I want to enjoy my day my way. Book the best pools, spas, and more for the day at resortpass.com.
Taxes was taxed. Now taxes is relaxing. You file for free.
I can file for free. TurboTax Free Edition, 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. I can file for free.
Now this is taxes. File for free with TurboTax Free Edition and get the most money back guaranteed.
This is the beginning of the end. The world is broken. I am being called to heal it. You have to show up and you have to fight.
Going to go into effect on April 3rd as scheduled.
Correct. Yes, they will.
And last thing, would you like to respond to the Chinese military drills around Taiwan?
Yes, I would. As a matter of fact, the National Security Council briefed me on this morning, and they said that the president is emphasizing the importance of maintaining peace in the Taiwan Strait, encouraging the peaceful resolution of these cross-strait issues, reiterating our opposition to any unilateral attempts to change the status quo by force or coercion. That is directly from the National Security Advisor. Just for you, Steve Holland of Reuters. Monica.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Elon Musk this week revealed that DOGE found that the Biden administration issued over 2 million Social Security numbers to illegal aliens, found 20 million dead people marked as alive in the Social Security system. Has the White House confirmed these numbers with Elon, and is the White House looking into correcting this?
I'm not sure about those specific numbers that Mr. Musk cited. I can tell you what the Social Security Administration has said themselves, according to an Inspector General's report that was conducted last year, showing there was nearly $80 billion worth of fraud in this program. But we know for a fact there are individuals who should not be receiving benefits on the Social Security rolls, and this administration is focused on cleaning out the waste, fraud, and abuse in every agency, but particularly in Social Security, to make it stronger for our tax-paying, law-abiding citizens who deserve these entitlements and programs. Because you did bring up DOGE, I do want to tout the incredible effort that has been made at the Environmental Protection Agency, and Administrator Lee Zeldin is just doing a tremendous job. Just yesterday and today it will be going into effect. He announced that taxpayers will be saved $8 million in annual lease costs by moving staff out of the 323,000 square feet of space that the EPA currently occupies, which is completely unnecessary. Yesterday, Administrator Zeldin also announced he will be shutting down a museum that the Biden administration built to tell a selective story about the EPA's history and climate change. It was a real pat on the back to President Biden. And guess how much American taxpayers paid for it? $4 million for this museum that I think only 1,000 visitors saw last year alone. It would cost American taxpayers $600,000 per year to operate this museum. Well, it's not going to exist anymore. We're going to save taxpayers those critical funds. And Administrator Zeldin is very proud to announce that. And just at EPA alone, and the cuts that they have made, they've saved taxpayers more than $22 billion in wasteful grants and spending. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. When the president goes down to Florida on the weekend, does he ever hear from, there are so many retired folks down in Florida, does he ever hear from any retired Americans who are stressed about these wild swings in the stock market because of the tariff uncertainty, and they're sitting there on fixed income or living off 401k, and they don't know how much money's going to be left?
Well, certainly they are legitimate concerns, and the president takes those concerns very seriously, and he's addressing them every single day. And tomorrow's announcement is to protect future generations of the senior citizens you mentioned. It's for their kids and their grandkids to ensure that there are jobs here in the United States of America for their children to live the American dream, just like they presumably did. And as for their worries about their 401ks, their Social Security, I just addressed Social Security. This president is always going to protect it for our tax-paying senior citizens. As for their 401ks, look at what President Trump did for you in his first term. He is working on implementing that economic formula every single day by lowering inflation, lowering energy prices, massive deregulatory efforts, while simultaneously effectively implementing tariffs. And they'll hear more about that announcement tomorrow.
And you said that the president right now is with the trade and tariff team. They are very confident that this is all going to work. But what if they're wrong?
They're not going to be wrong. It is going to work. And the president has a brilliant team of advisors who have been studying these issues for decades. And we are focused on restoring the golden age of America and making America a manufacturing superpower. And again, Peter, I would point you to the investments that have already trickled into this country. And the president hasn't even made his tariff announcement yet tomorrow. There have been billions of dollars in private investments from around the world pouring into American communities. What does that look like for those watching at home, for the people you mentioned, worried about their own economic circumstances? It means more jobs in your communities, which means more money, more investments, more money in your pocket. That's what the president is committed to. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the president's commitment to tax cuts, which we are counting on Congress to do, especially on Social Security.
And one more.
Sure.
Are the special elections today a referendum on the president?
I think first of all, as you know, I'm a government employee now, so I'm not very much allowed to comment on elections that are taking place. That's something to get used to, having just been on the campaign trail for quite some time. But the president is the leader of the America First movement and the MAGA movement. And that was made very clear on November the 5th when he received nearly 80 million votes. I could also say that it is the constitutional right of every law-abiding American in these places where these elections are being held to vote, and every American should exercise their constitutional rights. Sure.
Thanks, Carmen. A few questions about this deportation case. First, I wanted to clarify something that you said to Jeff a few minutes ago. You said you'd seen evidence that this man was a convicted gang member. In what court was he convicted and for what?
This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane, failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth. They didn't even mention in the title of that article, or even in the first paragraph, that this individual is an illegal criminal who broke our nation's immigration laws. He is a leader in the brutal MS-13 gang, and he is involved in human trafficking, and now MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America, and this administration is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge ordered that he should remain in this country. So are you saying that it is okay to ignore a judge's ruling if you don't like it?
Who does that judge work for? It was an immigration judge who works for the Department of Justice at the direction of the Attorney General of the United States, whose name is Pam Bondi, who has committed to eradicating MS-13 from our nation's interior. And let me tell you why we've made this commitment. MS-13, may I remind each and every one of you, is a brutal and vicious gang. They raped and strangled a 20-year-old autistic woman to death in Maryland. They hacked 4 people to death with machetes in a park on Long Island. They have kidnapped, sexually tortured, and shot a teenage girl in Texas after she insulted them, allegedly. Killed and mutilated a 17-year-old girl in Virginia, stabbing him 16 times and cutting off his hands. They beheaded and cut out the heart of a man in Washington, D.C. They raped and murdered a 13-year-old girl in California. They sex trafficked a slew of young girls, including one who was just 12 years old. Raped an 11-year-old girl in Brooklyn while her brother was in the room. Sex trafficked a 13-year-old in Maryland and Virginia, miles away from this White House, even beating her 26 times on her backside with a baseball bat. Pressured homeless New Yorkers to undergo unnecessary surgeries such as spinal fusion in order to bolster their fraudulent lawsuits. These are vicious criminals. This is a vicious gang. And I wish that the media would spend just a second of the same time you have spent trying to litigate each and every individual of this gang who has been deported from our country as the innocent Americans whose lives have been lost at the hands of these brutal criminals. We maintain our position, and very strongly so. Jen, turn.
One more on the tariffs. Can you say what the latest thinking is on the start date? I know you were just in the Oval. Are they all going to take effect this week on the reciprocal tariffs? And whenever they start, is that enough time for companies and everyone involved to adjust to that start date?
My understanding is that the tariff announcement will come tomorrow. They will be effective immediately. And the president has been teasing this for quite some time, as you know. He's talked a lot about April 2nd as Liberation Day in America. It would be taking place today if not for April Fool's Day. But tomorrow will be the day, and he's been talking about it for a while. And as a result, you've seen these companies make commitments to investing right here in the United States. Jasmine.
I wonder if back on tariffs, in the market indicators, is the White House looking for to see if this tariffs plan is successful down the line?
Well, look, the president has been asked and answered this question about the stock market and whether he's watching it. And I've said, and he has said, the market is a snapshot in time. Yesterday, the Dow futures were up. And there's been a lot of talk about the market, and it was up yesterday. So, look, the president wants to ensure that all Americans make out well, particularly Main Street. That's the focus of these tariffs. But as I've said repeatedly, just like they were in his first term, Wall Street will be just fine. Shelby.
Thanks. A bipartisan pair of senators sent a letter to the president today arguing that the recent strikes in Yemen are emboldening the Houthis and saying that Congress has not authorized war against them. Is the administration planning to consult with Congress at some point or going forward regarding the strike, and any response on the letter?
Well, I would absolutely reject Congress's claims. Who made those claims in Congress?
Senator Jeff Merkley and Rand Paul.
Okay, well, I would absolutely reject those claims. These Houthi strikes have been incredibly successful. Last time I was at this podium, there were more than 100 successful strikes. There have now been over 200 successful strikes against the Houthis. Iran is incredibly weakened as a result of these attacks. And we have seen they've taken out Houthi leaders. They've taken out critical members who were launching strikes on naval ships and on commercial vessels. And this operation will not stop until the freedom of navigation in this region is restored, which is a critical principle, and this president stands behind our Defense Department, who's doing a tremendous job.
Is the White House going to confer with Congress going forward on this?
I would have to ask our team here at the White House, but the president is well within his authority, as is the Secretary of Defense. Again, these are defensive strikes. The Houthis have been launching attacks on U.S. naval vessels and commercial ships for quite some time. Go ahead. Yeah.
The pause on the Canadian and Mexican tariffs, the fentanyl tariffs, that's set to expire tomorrow. Is the president considering extending that pause?
Look, I will let the president speak on the specifics of the tariffs tomorrow. But as for fentanyl, we have seen this has certainly caused a national security crisis here in the United States. Fentanyl continues to be the #1 killer of young people in this country, and the president is very much focused on that. Deanna.
Thank you, Caroline. The president recently signed an executive order on making D.C. safe and beautiful. On the campaign trail, he talked about making New York great again. Does he have any plans on establishing a similar task force? Has he been pressuring Governor Hochul in any way in his conversations about New York and lowering crime?
Well, he has been in correspondence with Governor Hochul quite a bit on the issue of crime, also on the issue of congestion pricing, and so many other issues that are facing New Yorkers. And he wants New York to clean up their streets just as he does here in Washington, D.C. He also speaks to Mayor Adams as well. So he's engaged with state and local leaders across the entire country to ensure they're doing their part to help American citizens in each and every state, regardless of if it's a red state or a blue state.
A question on Russia. Yesterday, the Russian government said that their new goal is 160,000 conscripts for the war. Has the president seen that number? And does he have any response given his recent conversations on peace talks?
Well, I can tell you what the president said last night, and that is he is frustrated with leaders on both sides of this war. He wants this war to end. There are men that are dying on both sides. And it's been going on for far too long. Our team continues to be engaged with the Russians as we are with the Ukrainians, and the president continues to be very, very much engaged on this topic every single day.
Sure.
Caroline,
The president said over the weekend that he couldn't care less if prices went up on foreign cars because people buy more American cars. There's been consensus from a lot of economists that these tariffs could raise prices on other goods as well. Is the president comfortable with Americans on Main Street paying more because of these tariffs?
The president is doing everything he can, and his entire administration is doing everything we can to bring down the cost of living in this country. An inflation mess that was fueled by the previous administration's reckless spending, overburdensome regulations that this administration is focused on slashing every single day. I just read you a statistic just from the Environmentally Protective Agency alone. We're saving taxpayers money that's ultimately going to drive down inflation. And we're unleashing the might of our energy industry, which will bring down prices as well. To the heart of your question, because this is very important to the American people, you should trust what this president did for you in his first term. He effectively utilized tariffs while driving down inflation. It was a record low 1.4% when he left office, and he's focused on getting back to that. It's unfortunate the previous administration left us in this mess.
Sure.
Anna Papagaluna left the Freedom Caucus over there, left support for her bill that would allow new parents to proxy vote around 12 weeks around the birth of their baby. Does the president support that bill?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually talked to the president about that bill, but I certainly can and can get a take on if he supports it or not.
Thank you. And one more. The D.C. Circuit ruled last week that the president can fire or hold over Biden appointees of independent agencies. Will this ruling empower President Trump to dismiss more federal employees?
Well, the president has given the responsibility to his cabinet secretaries to hire and fire at their respective agencies, and they reserve that right. You saw the Secretary of Health and Human Services announce more layoffs today. This is all part of the administration's effort for a mass reduction in force in the federal bureaucracy here in Washington, D.C. to save American taxpayers money. As for agencies within the president's executive authority, the president retains that right. And we've seen there have been bureaucrats at some of these agencies that have been trying to act independent. They need to remember who they work for. It's the executive of the executive branch. You look at the United States Institute of Peace, for example. There was a little bit of a standoff with bureaucrats over there who didn't want to realize who they work for, and that is Donald Trump. And President Trump is focused on streamlining these agencies to save American taxpayers money, and he has every right to do that. Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks, Carol.
Yeah.
In Gaza, the bodies of 15 rescuers have been found in their sort of ambulances where they were apparently killed by Israeli forces. Just wondering if the White House is going to be calling on Israel to investigate that and to try and avoid similar casualties involving rescue workers in the future.
Well, as for the specific situation you just mentioned, I'll talk to the president about it in our national security team. What I can tell you is what I've spoken with the president on. He very much remains committed to backing Israel, and it was only because of this president and his team's leadership that we had a temporary ceasefire in Gaza, that we were able to bring many hostages home, and the president made it very clear to Hamas, you get the hostages out, all of them, or there will be hell to pay, and Hamas is certainly witnessing what it feels like for all hell to be paid, and the president supports Israel's right to defend itself.
Progress at all on a ceasefire at the moment, as far as the president is concerned?
The president and his team continue to be engaged on this every single day. Sure. Go ahead.
So I'm just wondering, related to that, if you have an approximate date for the president's first foreign trip. I think there was a little confusion yesterday
say about what month he was talking about? And then, will he need a ceasefire to be in place or closer, either in Gaza or in Ukraine, before that takes place?
The president will be heading to Saudi Arabia in May. As for specific dates and details, we will be reading those out to you as soon as we possibly can. I know our teams are working on the details of that trip. And then again, as for a ceasefire, the president's made it clear that's what he wants to see in Russia and Ukraine, and his team continues to be engaged on it every day. Kelly.
Signal, you said case closed yesterday. As that case was closed, do you have anything that you can share about what was learned, how this can be avoided in the future, any sort of findings from that investigation?
The case is closed, and the president continues to have confidence in his national security advisor. Yes, Kelly. Kelly.
Caroline.
Sorry, Ed. Ed, I'll come to you after. I'm glad you're so eager to ask a question.
It's Liberation Day.
Yes, it is.
Caroline, the president has said foreign
Tomorrow.
countries and companies will eat the cost of tariffs. In his speech on Inauguration Day, he said, quote, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
Right.
So then why did he have to tell the domestic automakers not to raise prices?
Well, that was a private conversation that was had. I'm not sure if that comment was made or was not made. But as for what the president said in his Inauguration Day speech, he's absolutely correct. A tariff will be a tax on these foreign nations, these foreign companies, and if they want to be absolved of that tariff, then they can come here to the United States of America to do business, bring their jobs here. Edward, go ahead.
Thank you. So Canadians have been negotiating with the Commerce Secretary over the trade, the tariffs. How many companies are mutually talking with the U.S. or countries are mutually talking with the U.S. to lower tariffs?
I don't have a specific number, but I can tell you there have been quite a few countries that have called the president and have called his team in discussion about these tariffs. But again, there's one country the president cares most about, and it's the United States of America, in doing what's best for the people who elected him to this office to restore their jobs, their wealth, and their prosperity. I'm looking at the clock. I have a hard out today. I have a hard out today because I'm actually heading over to the State Department with the First Lady of the United States. She will be delivering remarks at 1 o'clock this afternoon at the 19th International Women of Courage Award Ceremony with our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. It starts at 1. This is the 5th year Mrs. Trump is participating and standing with brave women leaders who embody American values abroad. And the First Lady, in her remarks today, will highlight the profound connection between the love and courage that will be shown by this year's honorees. I encourage everybody to tune in at 1 o'clock, and then we'll see you all tomorrow for Liberation Day. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Caroline.
On April 25th, the accountant is back.
Do you have my location?
But this time, he brought his brother.
Guess I hit him harder than I thought.
Do you like puzzles?
Why would someone kill these people?
She didn't kill all those people.
How do you know that?
Educated guess.
That's all it is, really.
No.
The Accountant 2, rated R.
Welcome to Pollo Tropical. Would you like to try your coconut shrimp?
Coconut shrimp, coconut shrimp, shrimp and the coconut. Coconut shrimp, coconut shrimp.
Guess what's back at Pollo Tropical? We're serving a perfectly golden, sweet and savory coconut shrimp on a salad, platter, or as a side with our sweet and tangy pineapple rum sauce. Don't miss out on coconut shrimp.
Pollo Tropical. Good afternoon, everybody. How are we? It's a newsy day indeed. And last night we saw the very best of America. After spending nearly 300 days aboard the International Space Station, Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams are back on Earth. These two incredible astronauts were only supposed to be up there for 8 days, but because of the Biden administration's lack of urgency, they ended up spending 9 months in space. Joe Biden's lack of courage to act boldly and decisively was a big reason why Butch and Sunny did not make it back until yesterday. But President Trump doesn't waste time. Immediately after taking office, President Trump directed Elon Musk and SpaceX to rescue these brave astronauts alongside NASA. The president also called the acting administrator of NASA and told her to bring the astronauts home as soon as possible. As acting administrator Janet Petro said herself yesterday, per President Trump's direction, NASA and SpaceX worked diligently to pull the schedule a month earlier. The president looks forward to welcoming Butch and Sonny to the Oval Office when they are recovered. This historic mission brings new meaning to President Trump's promise to always look out for the forgotten man and woman. On another important matter, yesterday, President Trump and President Putin spoke about the need for peace and a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Both leaders agreed this conflict needs to end with a lasting peace and also stressed the need for improved bilateral relations between the United States and Russia. President Trump also spoke with President Zelensky this morning to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their needs and requests. As President Trump has said repeatedly, the precious lives and money that both Ukraine and Russia have been spending in this war would be better spent on the needs of their peoples. This terrible conflict would have never started with President Trump in charge, but he's determined to end it once and for all. President Trump also promised maximum transparency and a commitment to rebuild the trust of the American people and our intelligence community. Part of that promise was to fully release previously classified records related to the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy, and he made that happen yesterday. This historic release consisted of approximately 80,000 pages of previously classified records that are now published. The records are available to access either online at archives.gov/JFK or in person, accessible to the American people at the National Archives in College Park, Maryland. Records that are currently only available for in-person viewing are being digitized and will be uploaded in the coming days. On another note, positive economic data continues to pour in, showing the immediate impact of President Trump's pro-growth agenda. After suffering a steep decline in the final year of the Biden administration, the manufacturing sector came roaring back in February. Industrial production surged in February, these are new numbers, at a greater 3 times rate than the expectations to its highest ever recorded level. And President Trump's laser focus on massive deregulation and unleashing our domestic energy industry is leading to stability for Americans' bottom lines. As Newsweek summed it up today, gas prices are plummeting under President Trump. And the Trump administration continues to make American communities safer through our ongoing mass deportation campaign of illegal alien criminals. Yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel announced the agency captured another fugitive from its 10 most wanted list, securing the extradition of Francisco Javier Roman Bardelas, a key senior leader of the brutal MS-13 gang. And the brave men and women of ICE also arrested a number of dangerous aliens across the country in recent days. You will see them on this screen. ICE San Francisco just arrested a citizen of Guatemala convicted of sexual battery. ICE New Orleans arrested a citizen of Ecuador convicted of rape in Suffolk County, New York. ICE Atlanta arrested a citizen of Mexico convicted of assault by strangulation. ICE Dallas arrested a citizen of Mexico convicted of assault with a firearm and rape with a foreign object. And ICE Houston arrested a citizen of Guatemala convicted of indecent sexual contact with a child in Texas. These are heinous criminal alien monsters who the previous administration allowed to flood into our country. And every time President Trump and his team deport one of them, our country becomes safer. Finally, before I open it up to questions, I want to tout how successful our efforts have been in filling out President Trump's administration. There have been a record number of 281 Senate confirmed nominations already, with another 280 in process. Here at the White House, OPM and GSA, we have filled 100% of the total number of slots. And this is a record number of placements in the first 58 days of any administration, and a testament to the caliber and the sheer quantity of talented people who want to work for President Trump to make America great again. Here in our new media seat today, we have Katie Pavlich. Katie is the editor of townhall.com, which is a subsidiary of Town Hall Media. It's a leading conservative news and opinion outlet based right here in Washington, D.C., with writers and journalists reporting around the country. Last year, Town Hall Media had 60 million unique users and 1.4 billion page views, with a broad reach on a number of social media platforms. With that, Katie, please kick us off.
Sure. So given the back and forth with this U.S. District Judge and the administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act, does the President plan to send new and additional flights of Venezuelan gang members now designated as foreign terrorists from the U.S. to El Salvador or elsewhere? Can Americans expect to see those flights sometime soon?
Americans can absolutely expect to see the continuation of the mass deportation campaign that has been successfully led by this President, Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, and also our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Since you brought up the judges, I would like to point out that the judges in this country are acting erroneously. We have judges who are acting as partisan activists from the bench. They are trying to dictate policy from the President of the United States. They are trying to clearly slow walk this administration's agenda, and it's unacceptable. As the President said last night, we will continue to comply with these court orders. We will continue to fight these battles in courts. But it's incredibly apparent that there is a concerted effort by the far left to judge shop, to pick judges who are clearly acting as partisan activists from the bench in an attempt to derail this president's agenda. We will not allow that to happen. And not only are they usurping the will of the president and the chief executive of our country, but they are undermining the will of the American public, tens of millions of Americans who duly elected this president to implement the policies that are coming out of this White House.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said yesterday that he was united with Democrats in working against Americans who, quote, their attitude is, I made my money all by myself, how dare your government take my money from me, or I built my company with my bare hands, how dare your government tell me how to treat my customers. What is the president's response to this given his upcoming tax agenda and need to work on Capitol Hill?
Well, we certainly hope that Democrats all of a sudden are for more money in the pockets of the American public. The president has made it incredibly clear that he is committed to tax cuts. He is committed to passing a big reconciliation package later this year, ending no taxes on tips, taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security for our hardworking seniors. And we encourage everybody on Capitol Hill to support that when it comes to the finish line, especially Democrats who clearly need a boost from the American public right now. Their approvals are at an all-time record low. Thanks for being with us, Kate. Gary.
I have one other question. I want to follow up on Katie's question, actually. You said the mass deportation campaign would continue, but she asked about the flights specifically. Will those flights to El Salvador continue while this case is being appealed?
We don't have any flights planned specifically, but we will continue with the mass deportation. And I would just like to point out that the judge in this case is essentially trying to say that the president doesn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists from our American soil. That is an egregious abuse of the bench. This judge does not have that authority. It is the opinion of this White House and of this administration, and that's why we're fighting this in court. And it's very, very clear that this is an activist judge who is trying to usurp the president's authority. Under the Alien Enemies Act, the president has this power, and that's why this deportation campaign has continued. And this judge, Judge Boasberg, is a Democrat activist. He was appointed by Barack Obama. His wife has donated more than $10,000 to Democrats, and he has consistently shown his disdain for this president and his policies, and it's unacceptable.
I wanted to go about the idea that these people are all foreign terrorists, but Judge Boasberg was originally appointed by George W. Bush and then elevated by Barack Obama. I just feel like I should clear that up.
Well, let me just say something to that effect, Garrett. 67% of all of the injunctions in this century have come against which president? Donald J. Trump. Let me say that again. 60% of the injunctions by partisan activists in the judicial branch have come against President Donald Trump, and 92% of those have been from Democrat-appointed judges. This is a clear, concerted effort by leftists who don't like this president and are trying to impose or slow down his agenda.
Given that, do you think it's a good use of Congress's time and the president's political capital to try to impeach and remove a federal judge, which would take 67 votes you're unlikely to get in the Senate?
Well, look, the president has made it clear that he believes this judge in this case should be impeached, and he has also made it clear that he has great respect for the Chief Justice John Roberts, and it's incumbent upon the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges. These partisan activists are undermining the judicial branch by doing so. We have co-equal branches of government for a reason, and the president feels very strongly about that. Jackie?
What options does the president
are trying to block, delay, and impede. This is lawfare. The president is no stranger to it. He faced it in his campaign, and this is a continuation of the lawfare that President Trump faced as a candidate, and he's now unfortunately facing as a president. Clearly, these partisan activists in the judicial branch didn't get the memo on November 5th when the American people overwhelmingly re-elected this president to continue with mass deportations. So White House counsel and the Department of Justice are working on this. They're appealing these cases, and we will continue to use the full weight of the White House counsel's office and the president's team of lawyers to fight this in court, because we know we will win, even if we have to go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Andy McCarthy said in an interview with Hugh Hewitt, he certainly agrees with what the president is trying to do with the Alien Enemies Act, but he's not sure that the law is completely on his side. He cites some previous Supreme Court rulings dealing with enemy combatants in wartime, says that even they have a challenge or a right to challenge their detention in court. He raised concern also that while TDA has been designated as a terrorist organization, these individuals hadn't been prosecuted for terrorism. So my question is, will the president ask Congress potentially to declare war on these cartels for the invasion that he's talked about, so that he's on stronger legal footing?
Well, we absolutely disagree with the legal opinion of the individual that you mentioned. We would not have moved forward with this if we didn't believe the president, this was within the president's executive authority to continue with this mass deportation effort under the authority provided to him under the Alien Enemies Act. And when you read the act, as I did last time at the podium, a predatory incursion is absolutely what has happened with Tren de Aragua. They have been sent here by the hostile Maduro regime in Venezuela, and the president, immediately upon taking office, designated TDA as a foreign terrorist organization. And under this act, it is within the president's authority to deport these terrorists. And anybody trying to defend these terrorists who have now been sent off of American soil should talk to the families of the individuals who these heinous monsters have killed and have raped. If you talk to those families, they are so heartened by the president's decision to take tough action, to use his executive authority, something that no other president has been willing to do, because President Trump does what he says he's going to do, and he is deporting these foreign terrorists from American soil to secure our homeland, and he is within his rights to do that.
There's a website that's trying to dox Tesla owners across the country and saying they're only going to take down personal information when people show that they've sold their cars. What's the administration going to do?
I haven't seen that website, but we certainly think it's despicable, the violence that has taken place against Tesla, the company, its employees, and also just Americans who have chosen to drive an electric vehicle. Many of them are Democrats, by the way. Democrats were big supporters of Tesla and of electric vehicles until Elon Musk decided to vote for Donald Trump. So we would like Democrats to also come out and condemn this heinous violence that we have seen, and I believe the Attorney General has said she's investigating these incidents as acts of domestic terrorism. Jennifer.
On military aid or intelligence sharing with Ukraine, as Russia says it's pushing for, and then have a follow-up on the federal case.
Sure. When it comes to Ukraine, I do have a statement for you from the National Security Advisor and also the Secretary of State. First, I'd like to reiterate what the President said earlier following his call with President Zelensky this morning. He said he just completed a very good telephone call with President Zelensky. It lasted approximately 1 hour. Much of the discussion was based on a call made yesterday with President Putin in order to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their requests and needs. We are very much on track, and I will ask Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Mike Waltz to give an accurate description of the points discussed. That statement will be put out shortly. While I have that statement for you right here, bear with me as I read it. Today, President Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky had a fantastic phone conversation. President Zelensky thanked President Trump for a productive start for the work of the Ukrainian and American teams in Jeddah on March 11th. The meeting of the senior officials from both nations significantly helped in moving toward ending the war. President Zelensky thanked President Trump for the support of the United States, especially the Javelin missiles that President Trump was first to provide in his efforts towards peace. The leaders agreed Ukraine and America will continue working together to bring about a real end to the war, and that lasting peace under President Trump's leadership can be achieved. President Trump fully briefed President Zelensky on his conversation with Putin and the key issues discussed. They reviewed the situation in Kursk and agreed to share information closely between their defense staffs as the battlefield situation evolved. President Zelensky asked for additional air defense systems to protect his civilians, particularly Patriot missile systems, and President Trump agreed to work with him to find what was available, particularly in Europe. The two leaders also agreed on a partial ceasefire against energy. Technical teams will meet in Saudi Arabia in the coming days to discuss broadening the ceasefire to the Black Sea on the way to a full ceasefire. They agreed this could be the first step toward the full end of the war and ensuring security. President Zelensky was grateful for the president's leadership in this effort and reiterated his willingness to adopt a full ceasefire. President Trump also discussed Ukraine's electrical supply and nuclear power plants. He said that the United States could be very helpful in running those plants with its electricity and utility expertise. American ownership of those plants would be the best protection for that infrastructure and support for Ukrainian energy infrastructure. President Zelensky also thanked President Trump for continuing to push humanitarian concerns, including the exchange of prisoners of war. He noted they had just had a successful exchange and thanked the president for his leadership on that. President Trump also asked President Zelensky about the children who had gone missing from Ukraine during the war, including the ones that had been abducted, and President Trump promised to work closely with both parties to help make sure those children were returned home. They agreed all parties must continue the effort to make a ceasefire work. The presidents noted the positive work of their advisors and representatives, especially Secretary Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Special Envoy Kellogg, and others. The presidents instructed their teams to move ahead with the technical issues related to implementing and broadening the partial ceasefire. The presidents instructed their advisors and representatives to carry out this work as quickly as possible. The president emphasized that in further meetings, the teams can agree on all necessary aspects of advancing toward lasting peace and security. That is a lengthy statement that was just given to me, so thanks for bearing with me. Our office will, of course, provide this after. And as you know, as I just pointed out in the statement, the president's team of negotiators and national security experts will be heading to Saudi again later this week to continue working on and ironing out the details. But I would just like to emphasize, we have never been this close to peace, and it's only because of President Trump that we are here. I think a couple of years ago, as you all reported on the war, it was incomprehensible to have a partial ceasefire in this conflict. And today, that is true because of the leadership of this president. Mary.
Agreed to closely share information with their defense staffs. Does that mean all intelligence sharing will continue to the White House is rejecting Russia's request?
Intelligence sharing in terms of defense for Ukraine will continue to be shared. Mary.
One on the United States Institute of Peace and then on the Supreme Court.
Sure.
So on the United States Institute of Peace, this is a little bit wild. I understand the old president refused to leave after he was removed from his position. He barricaded himself in his offices, had to be escorted out by police, left the building without Wi-Fi, telephones, elevators, and more, and is now telling media that Doge broke in and illegally removed him. So can you comment on the sequence of events and specify, did Doge illegally enter?
I'm really glad you brought this up, Mary. We were made aware of this story by individuals at Doge, at Elon Musk's team, and also at the State Department who were unable to access this building. And a concerted effort amongst the rogue bureaucrats at the United States Institute of Peace to actually physically barricade themselves essentially inside of the building to prevent political appointees of this administration who work at the direction of the President of the United States to get into the building. There was a piece in the Daily Caller, thank you for sharing the truth on this, about what happened. Staff contacted the MPD in an attempt to prevent Doge personnel from entering. They barricaded the doors. They also disabled telephone lines, internet connections, and other IT infrastructure within the building. They distributed flyers internally, encouraging each other to basically prevent these individuals from accessing the building. I use this to say this is what Doge and this administration is facing. It's a resistance from bureaucrats who don't want to see change in this city. President Trump was elected on an overwhelming mandate to seek change and implement change, and this is unacceptable behavior.
Supreme Court. I know it's been almost 3 years now since the leak of the draft opinion to Politico, actually. A leak which sparked protesting outside multiple justices and even gone on essential assassination attempt. I know Justice Alito said that it needs justice and targets for assassination. But yet the Supreme Court has not tracked down any either. Does the White House have interest in finding out who that leader was, and can you comment
know generally speaking, the president has an interest in finding leakers, and he believes it's unacceptable. And it's the position of this administration. You've seen the Secretary of Homeland Security has taken tough action at her agency. Leaking is unacceptable to this president and to the leaders across the board in this cabinet, especially when it puts people in harm's way. Sure. I would defer you to the Department of Justice on that specific case, but the president has made it incredibly clear that it is the policy of this administration that there are only two genders, male and female, only two sexes rather, male and female, and that we are not going to tolerate such behavior by men pretending to be women. The president will continue to strongly stand for the rights of women and girls, not just in sports and on athletic fields, but also in private spaces like locker rooms and bathrooms. Sure. Go ahead.
Can you explain the president's thinking in his decision to fire the two Democratic commissioners, especially given that Mark Nutter is on track to be confirmed next week and there would be a Republican majority? My biggest question is why now?
Sure. Because the time was right to let these people go, and the president absolutely has the authority to do it. And they were given ample notice in a letter that I believe your outlet reported on. So it pretty much explains exactly why this administration chose to let those individuals go.
To the Supreme Court to try to overturn the 1935 precedent?
The goal was to let these individuals go. If we have to fight it all the way to the Supreme Court, we certainly will. Rachel.
Back to the deportation flights to El Salvador, can the administration provide any more details on how authorities determine that each of those men were in fact members of a gang? And if the White House can't publish images, photos, videos of those men, why can't the administration just release basic information like their identities and names?
We are not going to reveal operational details about a counterterrorism operation, but what I can assure you, as I said on Monday, we have the highest degree of confidence in our ICE agents and our Customs and Border Patrol agents who have committed their lives to targeting illegal criminals in our country, particularly foreign terrorists, and they had great evidence and indication. They have the highest degree of professionalism, and they were 100% confident in the individuals that were sent home on these flights and in the president's executive authority to do that.
Follow up, I know in the last briefing you cited privacy concerns as a reason why the administration may not be able to reveal the identities. What exactly are the privacy rights of immigrants who were deported that the administration says were dangerous enough to be sent to El Salvador and sit in prison?
Again, as I just said, we're not going to reveal the operational details of a counterterrorism operation for quite obvious reasons. We're trying to combat terrorism here in the United States of America. Jeff.
There was a couple different readouts from the Kremlin in the U.S. on a couple different points. One was energy and infrastructure. The U.S. statement said energy and infrastructure. The Kremlin said energy infrastructure. What is your understanding of what the actual substance of that disagreement was? And one other question.
I would defer you to the readout that was provided by the White House. That's our understanding, and that's the truth.
I'd like to ask a question about the judge as well. How does the president define a bad judge? Is it just someone who disagrees with him? Is it a dangerous precedent in this case because this is a temporary ruling from Judge Whitford that he could ultimately rule in your favor? Is he setting up a standard here for calling for the impeachment of a judge who may ultimately rule on your side?
No, it has nothing to do with disagreeing with the president on policy. It's with disagreeing with the Constitution and the law. And it's trying to usurp the authority of the executive branch of this country. It's having baseless reasoning for these injunctions. And it's a clear effort by these judges to slow roll this president's agenda. And if you just look at the injunctions that this president has faced, deporting foreign terrorists from our homeland, hiring and firing of executive branch employees, which when the president is the executive of the executive branch. You also see an injunction by a partisan activist judge when it comes to the Secretary of Defense trying to determine the readiness of our troops and the qualifications of our troops in our armed forces. Does a single district court judge really have more authority over the commander-in-chief and the Secretary of Defense to determine who should serve in our United States Armed Forces? Absolutely not. Anyone who has taken a basic civics lesson can understand that, and it's ridiculous lawfare that we are witnessing. And it's
Sorry, the president said he respects the Chief Justice here. Does he respect him specifically on this case and this opinion?
President respects Chief Justice Roberts overall. He just expressed that to me in the Oval Office, but it's also quite clear that the Supreme Court needs to rein in these judges who are acting as partisan activists, and they are undermining the judicial branch, and it's a dereliction of duty on their behalf. Deanna, go ahead.
On the call with Zelensky, did they discuss the mineral deal at all? Is that back on the table, and what do the Ukrainians have to do to get that back on the table? And then one on the Russian call as well.
Again, I just provided a very lengthy readout of the call that was provided by the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor. And now we have moved beyond the economic minerals deal. We are at a place of peace. We're at a partial ceasefire, and we're moving towards a full ceasefire and a long-standing peace in this conflict. And that's great news for the American public.
Kremlin readout mentioned that Trump and Putin spoke about potential U.S.-Russia hockey.
Guys, I apologize. It's a little late. I have to get to bed because I got to get up for school in the morning. But guys, thank you guys for joining the live. Thank you guys for watching with me. I appreciate your support. I wish you guys have a wonderful night, and may the Holy Spirit walk with you guys, keep you. And again, thank you guys for watching, man. I do have to go to bed though. Appreciate you guys.